HighBridge, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Unexpected Guest: How a Homeless Man from the Streets of L.A. Redefined Our Home, by Michael Konik. Read by George W. Sarris. 1. A knock at the front door.
"Good morning," he grunts. "Hey, look, sorry to bother you. I need to ask, do you think I could borrow a pair of pants? I had an accident."
It's a little after 7 a.m. on a sleepy Sunday morning in 2016. Fisher King Mike is standing at our front door, having let himself in the closed but unlocked sidewalk gate. And judging by the smell wafting over the porch, this time he's telling the truth. "Pants? Yeah, sure," I stammer, still startled and bleary from unexpected early morning knocking. "Let me find you something." He fingers one of the 5 leather crucifixes necklaced on his chest.
No, it's not that. I didn't mean to bother you, sir. It's just the center isn't open yet, and I can't walk around like this, can't do my work. And you know, all my stuff is in Calabasas, in the valley, and I can't get there like this."
"I understand," I say, not sure if I actually do, but too frazzled to make further inquiries. "No problem. Yeah, okay, let's see, we're about the same size. I mean, I have a bigger waist, but sure, it shouldn't be a problem." I smile reassuringly as he looks down and mumbles, the rotten odor intensifying. "I'll be right back, Mike." Trudging upstairs in my bathrobe, I have a moment to consider what I'm getting into. Fisher King Mike has previously asked for little things, a leftover sandwich, a pair of socks. Now he wants to borrow pants. In the few seconds it takes to reach the closet in our upstairs bedroom, I conclude that whatever dungarees I loan will never be returned, and that'll be just fine. I can live without them. Eventually, he'll ask for something else, probably money, and boundaries will have to be considered and all that, but right now the man needs a clean pair of pants and a change of underwear. I feel simultaneously grateful and mildly ashamed. Grateful that I can help, and mildly ashamed at how grateful I am that it's not me in Mike's position. "What's going on?" My wife Charmaine groans from bed, slightly alarmed. "It's Fisher King Mike," I whisper. "Are you awake?" "I am now. What's wrong?" He soiled himself, so I'm giving him some pants." Charmaine shoots me a look that communicates her complicated feelings on the matter. Then she says, "Okay," sighing lightly and nodding. She smiles. "That's very nice of you." I kiss her face, and I tell her we all do what we can. Some of us discover we can do more than nothing. Charmaine chuckles softly at our familiar mantra, the one she's gradually teaching me to believe in. Now I'm telling myself, you can do more than nothing, as a gentle encouragement to pick up litter in my neighborhood and dog poo at the park. I also started telling myself I possessed some kind of secret superpower, because I seemed able to do something, grab detritus off the ground, most people streaming past on the sidewalks and trails seemingly couldn't. It worked. Now I feel responsible for picking up any litter I see, because I'm one of the gifted few, the able. I can do more than nothing. We own a spacious house in a historic district of Hollywood, and never go to sleep hungry. We have closets full of unworn clothes, and racks of untrod shoes, and a car, and bicycles, and computers, and dishes, and glassware, and furniture, and stereo equipment, and a grand piano, and a million other possessions, and electric power and hot water on demand. An objective observer would determine we have all we need, and possibly far more. Fisher King Mike doesn't. I find an old pair of brown denim jeans, and a sweatshirt too. Maybe a collared shirt? Would he want that? Would that be useful? It's springtime, the weather's mild, still nighttime temperatures, maybe a sweater is what he needs. As I rummage through the markers of my big American success story, 8 pieces of wheeled luggage? 12 tailored suits? The urge to be generous grows, and as it grows, and the more I find to give away, the finer I feel. Why don't I do this more often? Why isn't this my default mode, constantly giving stuff away? Thumbing a long-ignored jacket, it occurs to me, if being generous makes everyone involved feel good, the giver as much as, or more than, the receiver, maybe this could be a new paradigm. I could make a habit of being generous every chance I get, blissing out on kindness. Don't go anywhere, I tell Charmaine, who mumbles sleepily and curls into a tempting croissant. Plucking one more shirt from a seldom-used pile, I return downstairs where Mike is slouching, hands in pockets, eyes downcast, radiating defeat and resignation. I don't have any comforting nostrums to make the truth go away. No matter what fantastic stories he tells about himself, at this moment he needs help. Here he is, a man almost 60, I would suppose, a Vietnam vet, homeless and incontinent. There's nothing I can say to ease the pain and humiliation, except maybe a different truth. Here you go, Mike, I say, handing him my hand-me-downs. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to do the right thing. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, no, see, it's not that. I didn't want to bother you and your wife. It's just the center isn't open yet, and I can't walk around like this. Can't do my work. And, all my stuff is in Calabasas in the valley, and I can't get there like this,
he repeats, verbatim. I nod, but don't answer. He's wearing mirrored sunglasses. I can see myself in him. The man wearing the glasses looks morose, defeated by life. The man staring back at me in the mirrors, with the stubble and the bathrobe, looks very happy, and also somehow very sad, as though all the bounty and fullness of his life has left him inexplicably empty. Mike shakes his head, like a dog emerging from a bath.
Hey, listen, no, it's not that. I'm sorry for bothering you and your wife.
Not a bother, I say uselessly.
Well, no, it's not that. See, what people don't understand is, and I tell them this, it's like they see people walking around in Hollywood, they see movie stars, and they walk around, and it's like, hey, this is what I do, And people don't get that. Because, see, I can't do my work like this. Ordained minister of God, military chaplain, and so, no, I'm just saying.
Ushering him out, I say, be well, Mike. And I'm wondering how that's going to be possible. 2. The Legend of Fisher King Mike. Mike tells me he owns a private jet. Mike tells me he lives on an estate, next door to Kanye West. Mike tells me he performs special ops for the Department of Defense. Mike tells me he's not permitted to discuss his military history. Mike tells me he's married to Selena Gomez. Mike tells me he's married to Selena Gomez and they have 2 children. Mike tells me he's married to Selena Gomez and they have 2 children, and it's very hard to be away from his family, to be separated, but she's got her work and he's got his, and he's sure I know what he means. A man does what he's got to do, even when he knows family comes first, and nothing is more important than family. And sure, he misses them because, there's nothing more important than family, but he's a pastor, a street pastor, and he has to do his work, has to minister, because there are a lot of people out on the streets, people who need help, and even though he's married to Selena Gomez and has 2 beautiful children, a boy and a girl, what people don't understand, they think it's all movie premieres and paparazzi, and he tries to tell them what people don't understand is there are people who need him, people he has to minister to, because he's a military chaplain and also special forces. When Fisher King Mike rhapsodizes out loud, The stories sound magnificently glamorous and exciting, and, of course, utterly incredible. He's not a habitual liar, not in the conventional, desperate politician sense. He seems to believe his tales are real, and he assumes you believe them too. I find myself wishing that somehow, as in a Marquez novel or the subtext of a poem, Mike's magical claims, surprise, will turn out to be totally authentic, not the ravings of a deluded fabulist. All along, while our hero sputtered and fumed and no one believed him, he was telling the truth. I wish it were so. That there was some chance, even the remotest chance. But Mike's rants typically occur at the bus stop on the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Gardner Street, or at the bus stop on the corner of Hollywood Boulevard and Fuller Street, where he sits for hours. I once made the mistake of engaging him in pleasant repartee while waiting to cross the street. 3 cycles of walk signs passed before I could extricate myself from Mike's flamboyant oratory. His possessions crammed into a backpack and a canvas tote bag, Fisher King Mike meanders around our Hollywood neighborhood known as Sunset Square, an idyllic pocket of century-old bungalows and tree-lined sidewalks tucked inside the teeming, angry city. He and his fellow transients usually stick to the main avenues, the business districts, where they're more likely to scrounge food and cigarettes. But each year, we see more homeless people settling closer to our residential streets. It's not that the problem is being ignored or explained away. The voters of Los Angeles want to help. In 2016, the overwhelming majority of us voted for Measure HHH, which increased our taxes in order to pay for $1.2 billion in bonds earmarked to build housing for the homeless. 3 years later, the city of Los Angeles has built precisely 0 units with that money. Although our mayor, Eric Garcetti, has publicly pledged to end homelessness in Los Angeles, indeed it was one of his campaign planks in 2013 when he was still an ambitious city council member. The number of people without housing, in fact, rises every year. The latest figures, released in 2019, showed a 16% increase, despite more than $600 million spent to procure the opposite result. Like the failed war on drugs, we're badly losing our war on homelessness, and almost all the small battles, too. Contemporaneously, members of the Garcetti administration, the City Council, and the Board of Public Works are being investigated by the FBI for a long list of crimes, including, naturally, bribery and extortion. The main source of these solicited donations? Real estate developers. While squalid encampments populated with nylon tents and cardboard boxes are springing up all around Los Angeles in catastrophic numbers, the wise elders of our city keep approving one luxury skyscraper and condo project after another, displacing longtime residents and depleting the stock of rent-controlled apartments. Almost every Angelino in every neighborhood that's not Bel Air or Beverly Hills sees and understands that we have a growing humanitarian crisis on our hands. Yet the city behaves as though we're facing a luxury Airbnb shortage, not an affordable housing shortage. Like San Francisco, Los Angeles is in many ways becoming a place where only the wealthy can pay the going rental rates. More people than ever live in their cars, dodging tow trucks and parking officers. One impound or theft, and their temporary housing is gone. Soon, if we don't collectively do something to ameliorate this slow-motion disaster, what always appears to be someone else's problem will be outside our front windows, or on our front porch. A few months before Mike shows up looking for clean pants, I'm in the front garden one morning, weeding and pruning. A low hedge of rosemary and roses separates the soil from the sidewalk, the private from the public. I'm bent over, pulling interloper bamboo shoots from the kale patch, When I look up, Fisher King Mike is standing on the other side of the low fence. He's wearing a baseball cap that says Hollywood on it, and his necklace of crosses and mirrored sunglasses and 2 jackets. He's painfully thin, all elbows and knees, but his hair and mustache are trimmed neatly, and he smells freshly bathed.
"Hey, Mr. Punky, Mr. M.K. Punky," he says, using my poetry comedy spoken word handle. "Good morning, sir. Hey, look, I was just passing by. Got to get to the valley to take care of some business. My wife. You get it. Because, and I don't have to tell you this, what people don't understand is, okay, look, he might not always dress flashy because he wants to blend in with the regular people, but, you're a performer, you're M.K. Punky, you're famous, you understand, you get it. We're just normal people like everyone else, me and you, and you can talk to us." And I try to tell them, I'm like, "Look, Punky and me, we're used to the photographers and everything, but we're just normal if you get to know us. Like when we hang out at the Meltdown with the other comics. It's like...
He throws up his hands, speechless, for a moment. "Good morning, Mike," I say. "Would you like to try a tomato?" I'm thinking, be generous. Be kind. Treat him like you would any other neighbor who stops by to chat. But I'm also thinking, now he knows where we live. I hand Fisher King Mike a just-picked cherry tomato. He puts it inside one of his coats without comment.
"Thanks, but no, it's not that. It's, look, you're here in your garden, right? I tell people what they don't understand. I tell them..."
He changes his voice slightly, to the tone of an impatient pedant.
"Look, M.K. Punky has been on TV, and of course he's got books. A lot of people know he's a best-selling author, and everybody knows that. But what people don't understand is," and I tell them, "you do stand-up comedy, you do poetry, and when you walk by, he's in his garden growing vegetables for the community. They don't get that."
Although it's true that we put extra veggies from the garden on an old wooden table fronting the house, I'm not sure who they are. I'm quite sure that no one has ever asked Fisher King Mike if I'm down to earth. Just as I'm quite sure he's not really married to a pop starlet 30 years his junior, who's linked to Justin Bieber. In the 4 or 5 months I've known him, a total of maybe 20 encounters on the streets and at several nearby open mics, where Mike often puts his name on the list to perform, I've learned not to cross-examine his assertions. Mike doesn't entertain impertinent questions. He does, however, use any inquiry, no matter how innocuous or innocent, as a launching point for a rambling, tenuously connected monologue that might be fleetingly entertaining as a piece of performance art, part of an experimental, off-Broadway one-man show. On the streets of Hollywood, after a few iterations, Mike's soliloquies tend to grow less amusing and more confusing. Eventually, and what people don't understand, you learn to avoid inspiring them, or risk becoming a passively captive audience, a sold-out symphony hall of one, a friend who may as well not be there. "It's a beautiful day to be outside in the dirt," I say innocuously, trying to keep Mike's focus on the here and now.
"Well, no, it's not that," he replies. "See, what people don't understand is you can do the poetry and the comedy, and when you're on stage, it's like, okay, this is what I do, but what people don't understand is you're growing vegetables for the neighborhood."
Trying, I say, fussing with some new radish sprouts.
"Well, no, it's not that. No, see, that's the thing."
I nod cordially and return to weeding, wondering if our encounter this morning is truly a random coincidence of just passing by and look who I ran into, or if Fisher King Mike has been staking out our house, shadowing my perambulations around the neighborhood. He's never struck me as dangerous or aggressive. Unpredictable and inscrutable? Oh, yes. But for all his weirdness and conversational volatility, in the whole time I've known him, Mike hasn't uttered a single threatening or mean-spirited word about anyone. Indeed, he usually finds ways to praise people. Physically unimposing, he must weigh 120 pounds at most, And unarmed, as far as I know, Mike is essentially a gentle man. Not a gentleman in the social sense, but as harmless as a butterfly with injured wings. The first time I met him was at Elderberry's, a New Age vegan cafe located around the corner on Sunset Boulevard, dedicated to the somewhat obscure philosophies of Waldorf School founder Rudolf Steiner. The proprietors lived together communally, in a 5-bedroom bungalow with a giant garden out front called Have Seeds House, which hosts travelers from around the world and serves as the Los Angeles headquarters for a beautiful cult of kindness. In 2015, Elderberry's was hosting a potluck Thanksgiving for their regulars and anyone in the neighborhood who might randomly show up. Mike showed up, along with another transient he seemed to know vaguely. They walked in after seeing a welcoming sign on the door. No one knew where they had come from or how they had discovered our community dinner. Neither man wanted to talk much, but both were hungry, ferociously hungry. They offered their gratitude throughout the evening, and we reciprocated. Thank you for joining us, for the opportunity to share. It was all deeply satisfying, a profound illumination of the concept and meaning of Thanksgiving, liberated from offensive fake histories and rampant overconsumption. But near the end of the meal, the homeless man sitting beside Mike arose from his chair, glared across the table at the nice Quaker man seated next to me, the film festival curator who'd brought a savory green bean dish, and accused him of killing children, and of being the devil and a host of other sins. He pointed a menacing finger. You hate homeless people," he shouted. The Nerdist showroom, one of the best alt-comedy rooms in Los Angeles, is also around the corner, a few doors from Elderberry's. I often hang out there with a gaggle of genius comedians smoking weed in the parking lot. For a second, I thought I was witnessing one of my buddies pulling off an astonishing satire. Then I realized it wasn't funny. The homeless guy was genuinely incensed, and he seemed dangerous, threatening. The nice Quaker man was dumbstruck, obviously frightened. Mike, I noticed, turned away, shaking his head, disavowing the loud lunatic, who promptly grabbed a handful of mashed potatoes, shoved them in his pocket, and stormed out into the Hollywood night. Mike never said another word about him. A volatile ghost who came and feasted and went, never to return. Mike stayed. Indeed, over the next few weeks, whenever I popped into Elderberry's, he was there. Sometimes enjoying a courtesy meal, a blessing, he called them. Sometimes he was sitting alone at the end of the counter, poring over his Bible, bags tucked neatly beneath a stool. Sometimes he was deep in, mostly one way, conversation with Chris, another homeless man who often slept in the alley behind Elderberry's, next to a bustling car repair shop. Other times he was behind the counter, doing dishes. In the brief time it takes to transform a stranger into a friend, Mike was granted membership in the Elderberry's community, becoming one of its irregular regulars, a knight of the 21st century in search of his lance. No one seems to recall who started calling him the Fisher King, or Fisher King Mike. It could have been Dottie, the visionary founder of Elderberry's, whose brand of craziness is based on selfless service. It could have been Daniel, the Swedish Viking, tall and red and pale, who showed up one day at the front door of our home, saying, "I saw the little library and the vegetable table out front, and I thought I should meet whoever lives here." It could have been Caleb, the itinerant Canadian in his early 20s, whose inner calm and loving demeanor suggests that of a much older person. Or maybe it was Frank the artist, stepson of a famous jazz musician, a multi-instrumentalist and painter and woodworker, whose strange yet oddly pleasing ambient music issues forth from the small Elderberry stage. Or it might have been someone else. Whoever dubbed him Fisher King Mike was probably referring to The Fisher King, the 1991 Terry Gilliam film starring Jeff Bridges and Robin Williams, who plays a homeless man convinced he knows the Manhattan location of the Holy Grail. The film is based on an ancient Celtic myth that's been retold through the eons with minor variations. The story, in all its forms, is a fable about sinful pride. The movie roughly follows this version, per Wikipedia. The Fisher King was charged by God with guarding the Holy Grail, but incurred an incapacitating wound for his sin of pride. A fool asks the king why he suffers, and when the king says he is thirsty, the fool gives him a cup of water to drink. The king realizes the cup is the Grail and asks, "How did you find what my brightest and bravest could not?" The fool says, "I don't know. I only knew that you were thirsty." If Mike disliked or took offense to being called Fisher King Mike, he never said so. Aside from all the metaphorical possibilities held in the name, practically speaking, he was a man on a quest for the holy, and he'd tell you so every chance he got. "I'm a street pastor, ordained minister, military chaplain," he'd say. He also considered himself a kind of modern royalty, someone in the entertainment industry married to a famous starlet. The wounded part he didn't talk about. I often wondered what sequence of events led him to Hollywood, California. How did he end up on the streets? Like this. When did he break so badly he couldn't put himself back together? Fisher King Mike began attending each bi-weekly edition of Revolutionary Words, a social justice open mic I hosted at Elderberry's, drawing slam poets, comic improvisers, and prophetic provocateurs. He was always one of the first to arrive to put his name on the sign-up sheet, Michael James, and the last to leave. He shared handwritten poetry and highly improvised sermons, and was known to sometimes exceed the 5-minute limit. But Mike was always a keen listener and a weirdly engaging performer, a man of letters, a gentle man, a poet at heart. So why, on this serene springtime morning, am I wary of having him loiter in front of our home? Maybe because I know what's coming. The ask. Eventually, after the philosophizing and explicating, the subtle flattery and misdirection, Fisher King Mike is going to want something from me. He always does. Why does this trouble me? What's so bad about being needed? My dread, I realize, comes from being of two minds on charity, a dialectical tension between the desire to do well and the realization that I'm possibly doing the opposite. None of us wishes unwittingly to encourage anyone to remain homeless or paralyzed by hopelessness. We want to help. Yet, when we give cash to a career beggar with obvious substance abuse issues, we're positively reinforcing his choices, ensuring on some level more of the same, leading to nothing good, especially when the panhandler is parked outside a liquor store. Is giving food and clothing different? While you still might be affirming a negative behavior, begging for a living, you're also having an immediate salutary effect. You're feeding a hungry woman. You're clothing a shivering runaway teenager. Perhaps it's patronizing and condescending to imagine I have any moral claim over a homeless person, or an addict, or someone with mental illness, simply because I give them money. They are, after all, independent, if disadvantaged, adults. All I know is I want to do the right thing, even if I'm not sure what that is. I want to be righteous, compassionate, philosophically Christian. If ever I am cold and hungry and unable to feed or fend for myself, I pray someone will be kind to me. I pray they won't succumb to the cruelty of apathy. I pray they won't be enthralled to stirring philosophies of self-reliance. I pray they will simply help, understanding that in case...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?